News outlets whose owners worry about lawsuits or government harassment rein in their investigative teams, and their most aggressive reporters, editors engage in self-censorship, softening headlines and opting not to run stories critical of the government, and university leaders fearing government investigations, funding cuts or punitive endowment taxes, crackdown on campus protests, remove or demote outspoken professors, remain silent in the face of growing authoritarianism. Weaponized states create a difficult collective action problem for establishment elites who, in theory, would prefer democracy to competitive authoritarianism. The politicians, CEOs, media owners, university presidents who modify their behavior in the face of authoritarian threats are acting rationally, doing what they deem best for their organization by protecting the shareholder, avoiding debilitating lawsuits, tariffs, and taxes. But such acts of self-preservation have a collective cost. As individual actors retreat to the sidelines or censor themselves, societal opposition weakens, the media environment grows less critical, and pressure on the authoritarian government diminishes. The depletion of societal opposition may be worse than it appears. We can observe when key players sideline themselves when politicians retire, university presidents resign, or media outlets change their programming and personnel. It is harder to see the opposition that might have materialized in a less threatening environment but never did. The young lawyers who decide not to run for office, the aspiring young writers who decide not to become journalists, the potential whistleblowers who decide not to speak out, the countless citizens who decide not to join a protest or volunteer for a campaign. Hold the line. Hold the line. America's on the cusp of competitive authoritarianism. Hold the line. Hold the line. The Trump administration has already begun to weaponize state institutions and deploy them against opponents. The Constitution alone cannot save U.S. democracy. The Constitution alone. Even the best designed constitutions have ambiguities and gaps that can be exploited for anti-democratic ends. After all, the same constitutional order that undergirds America's contemporary liberal democracy permitted nearly a century of authoritarianism. In the Jim Crow South and the mass internment of Japanese Americans and McCarthyism in 2025, the U.S. is governed nationally by a party with greater will and power to exploit constitutional and legal ambiguities for authoritarian ends. At any time in the past 2 centuries, Trump will be vulnerable. The administration's limited public support and inevitable mistakes will create opportunities for democratic forces in Congress, in courtrooms, and at the ballot box. But the opposition can win only if it stays in the game. Opposition under competitive authoritarianism can be grueling, worn down by harassment and threats. Many of Trump's critics would be tempted to return to the sidelines. Such a retreat would be perilous when fear, exhaustion, resignation crowds out citizens' commitment to democracy. Emergent authoritarianism begins to take root. Begins to take root.